Well, I'm Ildefonso from Internet Security. I'm 10-year more or less experience on backend development. And last 3 years I have been working on DevOps and network automation on my company in Tillman. So we are going to talk in this talk about DevOps, security, and network automation. How many network engineers are here network automation related? Nobody? Okay. And DevOps? Okay. Well, let's begin and start talking about application delivery. Application delivery is focused more or less on software delivery and infrastructure delivery. And network delivery is a sub-stage of the infrastructure delivery. Okay, so suppose that 10 years ago, in the application delivery stage related with software delivery, you want to push a change on production Friday afternoon because you have a bug and it was a hell. It was very painful. Because we don't have tools, the tools that nobody have to perform in an automatic way and to provide this change in an optimal way, reducing the bottleneck. Nowadays, if we have to push a chain on production environment by means of giving a commit and go through the pipeline and go to the production environment, we can do more or less in 10 minutes, 20 minutes in the worst case. So this is something that 10 years ago was impossible. An example is to deploy a lot of services, microservices on our infrastructure. Nowadays, we got a lot of orchestrator like, for example, Kubernetes or another tools to provide in an automated way to do that just in minutes, and it's very awesome and reduce a lot of the bottleneck of the infrastructure delivery. And in addition, we can define infrastructure as code by means of tools like, for example, Terraform and so on. So cool too. And what happened, we want to perform, for example, a live migration on a hybrid multi-cloud environment. We got, for example, a private cloud based on OpenStack and AWS, Google Cloud, etc. And we want to migrate some containers that are in one provider to another one without downtime. Nowadays, we got two tools, like, for example, last year in this conference, the friends of Elastic made a demo about this, migrating without downtime a Minecraft server that was running on AWS to Azure. And there exists a lot of tooling to perform that without downtime, so pretty cool. So what happens when we want to perform things of networking? Okay, as I stated previously, you got the application delivery with the software delivery, infrastructure delivery, and on infrastructure delivery, there exists networking delivery. So what happens when we want to perform the simplest chain request, like, for example, to have visibility across two services. I got one server, one PHP server, and one database server, and I put a ticket on my change system to the ops or to the infrastructure team to say, hey, I want reachability between the two services by means of several services, like, for example, TCP 8.0 or whatever. It takes hours or days. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and it's the most simple chain request that you can do. So why? Because it is still done in the same way that you do that 10 years ago. There is no evolution, more or less, on the way to perform that operation. It doesn't make sense on the DevOps perspective. If we go to more complex example, like, for example, to build a lab environment to test the high availability of my services on networking issues, it's extremely complicated. For example, you think that you have a cluster and you want to test how is the behavior of one of the nodes of the cluster if I put down all the networking that is related to this node. Nowadays, you have to build a networking laboratory to test that, very tired, very complex, with the vendor of the firewalling, of the routing, or the load balancer devices that are behind this infrastructure. So if you are, for example, working on a company with infrastructure, network infrastructure based on Cisco, you will create a laboratory engine, a laboratory environment very tied to the API or the CLI of your Cisco devices. But maybe 2 years later, your infrastructure team change your vendor and goes through Palo Alto or Juniper or Checkpoint or whatever, and you have to move to the trash or your laboratory environment and redo again. So it doesn't make any sense. And what happens if you are working on a very bigger company and while you're developing solutions to your customers or to your own company, your infrastructure team, the bigger the company is, the more geolocated it is and less coordinated with you will be, make infrastructure changes that collaterally affect to you. So you maybe will be on a painful situation because you cannot reach to several services, and sometimes maybe some things that now works later than a change request maybe doesn't work. So it could be a problem that could be by weeks or months, or it doesn't really make sense. So the main problem here is, as I stated previously, that we are performing that operations like we did 10 years ago, because the main problem is that there is a lot of operational issues, because your change requests take more or less between 10, 20, 30 days at average to be performed, because it has to be evaluated by several teams, like for example the security team, the risk team, and they need to check if there exists misconfiguration, how to perform the change. You only say to them that you want visibility across this server and this other one, but you don't know, and you don't need to know, what is behind all of this, all the devices that are crossing the traffic between to this endpoint, between this source and this destination. So this is the task, the job that has to do the people that perform that chain, and this is very complex because your network could be evolved rapidly. You need to have a lot of things to take into account, like for example, if you know what are the devices involved, you need to know the syntax of the CLI of each of them, and you need certified people to perform that chain. And this chain is, depending on the vendor, more or less automated. Some vendors doesn't really matter on providing more than a CLI to manually edit a file configuration of, for example, a firewall access control list. If you know how to perform the change, to apply the chain, it's very complex too, because you had, for example, a 1,000-line file with a lot of configuration, with a lot of ACLs, and if you put the ACL in the first line, the behavior will be extremely different if you put on the second line or 10 lines above and so on, because you can have a lot of redundancy, correlation, and contradiction problems, and you can go to rule degradation. So in addition, you need to audit all your configuration on every change. So it's very painful process, very manual, and all that things are operational issues. It's not related with the technology. It's related more with the team communication, coordination, etc., and so on. So it's a complicated and highly manual approval process. You need to prevent the rule degradation because you will have a lot of tech debt. And in addition, you have to take into account the security compliance. That is very important. If you are working, for example, on a financial environment, it's extremely painful if you don't take into account, for example, PCI or another guidelines for compliances of security, because you could be exposed, and it's very, very painful. So, in addition, there exist these problems, but in addition, we have a problem related with the technology, that is the language to express the change. It is very different taking into account the vendor that you will use. For example, if you want to perform the simple chain request of providing visibility across two services, and you're using Linux firewall mainly based on IP table, this is the change. But if you go to FortiGate, it's completely different. And if you go to Checkpoint, it's completely different. And if you go to Palo Alto, it's completely different. Cisco, and your cloud providers, if your infrastructure is mainly based on cloud provider, it's completely different too. It's different to do in Google Cloud, on Azure, AWS, OpenStack, and so on. In addition, if you go to orchestrator, like for example, Kubernetes and so on, right now are defining the network policies, so it's very painful to express something in a lot of different languages, okay? So if we think that, regarding to the previous examples, automation is fine to perform that operation on software delivery, why not to apply network automation to perform the changes, no? So there exists a very good talk in the last PaaS-based by Rick Sherman, that is why network automation matters and what you can do about it, that explores this topic. Now explore how to integrate network automation DevOps, in this case using Puppet technology, but it's very clarifying for introducing on these problems and quite solutions. So network automation is cool and has a lot of tooling right now. There exists a lot of cool vendors that provide several APIs and several, in addition, several Python libraries or Google libraries to perform several changes, like for example, NetMiko, Paramico, etc. And there is a lot of proposals to create a standard of an open config right now to don't think about how to write an ACL on IP table or on FortiGate or on Juniper. So writing on a common language that could be translated to this one. And in addition, there exists a lot of buzzwords that right now are taking some attention, like for example, software-defined networking and so on. So pretty cool. In addition, there exists more or less related other collateral projects, like for example, Chef Inspect, that is not related to with network automation, it's more related with automation of compliances. Okay, you perform the change, and with Chef Inspect, you can perform a lot of tests to test if your change is compliant with several guidelines. So pretty cool. Okay, if we get network automation, seems like we can do this example in minutes, but the real is that it's impossible. Okay, we are still having days, weeks, months, so what is happening? What is happening here? As I stated previously, network automation is fine, but you are still having the same operational issues because network automation solves 20% of your problem. Okay, you got a big problem that introduces a lot of bottleneck into your continuous delivery pipeline, and the 80% is operational. It's about team coordination, about how to perform changes. So why, if this problem is about how we think on how to perform a change, why not change the think of view, the point of view, to go through the solution? So we propose to reach the agility by abstraction. So instead of thinking on how to perform a change request onto my network, that involves that I have to know the knowledge about all the devices on my network, all the changes, all the team, etc. Why not to think about what I want, what I need from the network, what I will provide, and what I need, what I consume, okay? So if we change this point of view, as application owner or developer or DevOps, we only have to think on expressing our user intent about the network needs. So we can say, for example, that I need to consume CMP servers. I'm doing an application that need to consume several services on my infrastructure. Or I will provide a service to the network infrastructure that will be served on the TCP 8.0, for example. In addition, if I'm from the security operation team, I will say security rules. It's my job. I don't have to perform audit. I don't have to review each change request, okay, because it takes to me a long of time, okay? And the 80% of the things that the security teams review are always applied, okay? So my job as security operation is only to express security rules. Like, for example, if you are deploying an application on the application server, and it's going through the users, user network must have visibility to the application servers, okay? And as risk team, I need to define the compliance guideline based on the context of the application, okay? Like, for example, the DMC, the military traffic, must be limited to the internet by TCP 443 for enable security user access, okay? So what we're looking for is that we have a network abstraction layer where application owner, network engineer, security consultant, security engineer, and all the teams involved in the development of an application can specify their network needs, their application connectivity, their quality of service, the compliance, the threat response, etc. In addition, we find that this network structure layer could be tied with several data ingestion systems, like, for example, a Splunk or another monitoring tool like Bail or whatever, that could be provide inputs about events of the network to perform changes in an automated way. And we have to be tied to the network infrastructure, and using the network automation tools, provide all the changes to all the related devices for any change expressed on this way by means of this in an automated way instead of on a manual way, okay? So that is the idea. And the main goal is to query and to operate the network in code, okay? As, for example, in Terraform, we operate the infrastructure in code, okay? So for performing that, we need what is named as a network security policy orchestration controller that takes all the user intents expressed on this stage and could translate to a common model that could be applied inside all the infrastructure. And this controller must provide an API could be integrated all this logic into our DevOps continuous delivery pipeline or in other use cases, okay? And a UI in other cases and so on. So, what are the must-have features that this orchestration controller must provide? A security policy inventory to have only in one source, the source of truth, all the security policies of my infrastructure, without taking into account if it's are applied on a Palo Alto or a Juniper or Cisco or whatever. A visualization engine to see in an easy way what are the ACL defined, a line of sight to see what is the traffic that is routing on a request on production, an automatic tool migration for if you are, as stated on the laboratory example, on a Cisco and you are going to a Juniper, you don't need to rewrite of your user intents. Your intents are still the same. You want visibility across two services, and it doesn't really matter if behind is a Cisco or Palo Alto. So this kind of tool that need to provide an automatic migration that decouple you to the situations. Must be multi-vendor and provide an orchestrator deployment for perform the deploy of the change on greenfields. Must provide a change simulation that is very useful to avoid the audit, okay? Audit is more or less a post-mortem review of what is happening on production. So better than do that on production, make on a simulation engine and make a lot of change without breaking nothing. So this kind of solution must to provide these change simulation engines. And a lot of validation related with the misconfiguration that you can make in a manual operation. And in addition, what more related with the compliance guidelines that you have to achieve, okay? Change traceability to know who is doing what in what devices, in what moment, etc. pre-approved flow or policies to define what things the security operation team will be automatically say yes. Right now, in the traditional approach, security operators are called the doctor no, because always says no, okay? And they have a good reason, is because they have to perform all the things that we have previously seen. It takes a lot of time, and they make collaterally a lot of bottleneck, but it is for a good reason. So finally, this bottleneck, if you see the statistics, you see that the 80% or the 90% of the things that they say previously no, finally they go to production and say yes. So why not to define a predefined flow, a predefined policy that always they said yes, and they could go through the 20% that could be very more valuable. In addition, if you want to introduce your security needs into your application manifest as developer, for example, in the previous day we see in the Ara Pulido talk that she was writing on Snap several interfaces that gives an interface that what I provide or what I consume from all the operating system. This is more or less the same idea. If you can be able to write on your application manifest, like for example on Puppet, on Chef, or whatever, what services are you going to provide and what services are you going to consume from the infrastructure without the need to know where are, without the need to say, for example, an IP or something like. You can use, for example, Puppet profiles or something like. So this kind of solution must provide it. And an automatic change implementation for performing in any way, okay? So what is Intellimen? Intellimen is the company where I work, and our main product is an implementation of this kind of controller, okay? This is the things that are right now supported on this controller. It provides an abstraction of the network topology and network security policies that you can define your security policies as user intent. You only have to specify source, destination, configuration, and the action, allow traffic, deny traffic, or translation by means of source, translation, deny translation, etc. We maintain a network security policy knowledge base, orchestrate and diagnose and deploy change requests, etc. Okay, and it's without vendor locking, it's agentless, you don't need to install nothing on your firewall that you're going to manage, and it supports hybrid networking infrastructure, okay? And provide a RESTful API for integrating your DevOps pipeline. This is implementation details of the solution. It's mainly a Java solution with a lot of intensive use of AKI. And his architecture is mainly based on bundle of OSGI. You can have a lot of drivers with encapsulated in bundles, and you can, at runtime, put and remove new bundles with new drivers supported or not without the need of downtime. And we use Eclipse MDA tools for defining the abstraction model that defines all the syntaxes of all the drivers supported. Okay, so for us it's too easy to perform live migrations in seconds using this kind of tools. So we got a lot of integrations with Puppet for providing extensions for defining the provide or consume profile to the element of your application manifest, and with addition with Cisco SA to catching logging events on your infrastructure. Like for example, I am a user that I'm using a Wi-Fi of a coffee shop, and I need to go through my VPN to my company. My company NAC will catch this event and will use these solutions to give me visibility or not to several resources because I am treated like a guest on my network, because I'm not inside my company, etc. So there exists a lot of use cases. And if you are working right now with software-defined networking solutions, we got a proof of concept with Open Relay controller that is the most common controller for this kind of technologies, okay? So I don't know how many time I got, but I'm going to try to give you a brief overview about how it's working Intelligent right now. And if I got no time, okay, perfect. Well, if I have no time, I'm going to upload a video with all the demo too after that, okay? So this is the use cases that I previously see, but we got this more specifically. This is the URL of the video about this one, okay? And we are going to perform several examples. We are going to visualize network visibilities from an AWS-based instance. Suppose that I am a new guy, a junior developer of company. I have no idea about AWS, and I have to develop something that I have to put on an instance. So why I have to know something about AWS or the VPC services or so on? Maybe I don't have privileges to know or to access to the VPC to see what are the security groups or the ACLs that are applied to these instances. So this solution can help me to visualize what is allowed and forbidden to do on this instance. Other kind of use cases is, for example, to set up predefined networking visibility configuration, at least SEH or PIN, ICMP, all for several instances, for example, in Google Cloud or whatever. And we're going to push a more complex example on on-premise, on hybrid environment managed by Cisco, Palo Alto, FortiGate. A change by means of Puppet, and I'm going to do a migration, a live migration to AWS. Okay. So I got a running application here with all the controller. It's here, and I hope it's running here. Okay. This is the UI of the Intelligent Security Policy Automation product that is built on the top of the controller and is to the operator to see the visibility or to define new visibility. If you don't want to use the UI, you will be able to use our public API. I'm going to show you here. Okay, that is here. You can create new objects inside the network. You can create new requirement. A requirement on the Intelligent model is not a one-by-one relationship with an ACL. You can specify a requirement that is a visibility requirement between a source and destination, and this could cross, for example, 5 devices. So it could generate at least 5 ACLs, okay? So it is a higher abstraction layer, and so on. Okay, so let's do our first example. I need my sheet here to see. Okay, first example, we are going to see what is happening on this instance of AWS that is here. As you remind, I am a junior developer. I have no visibility to the AWS, and I need to know what is happening with this instance. Okay, what can I see, what I can do, etc. So I go through here, and I create a scenario new. It's AWS, for example. And a scenario is just a representation about the network that you are going to manage. Okay. And we got a security designer that you can manually design this scenario, the topology of the scenario, or you can import the topology from the device that you are going to manage, both options, okay? So let's suppose we want to import. So we get here routers, firewall, networks, internet, and so on. And here we got, we got 2 diagrams, network diagram, that is the topology, and security diagram that is not related with the topology, because here you are only going to express your needs, and you don't need to think on your network topology to express that, okay? So in addition, we see that it is on runtime validated, and he said, hey, you don't have a routing table for this firewall, and you need to specify your credentials if you need it, okay? And we got 2 levels of issues. Warning, in warning, you can deploy the changes, and error, in error, you will never be able to deploy the change, okay? For example, an error is a contradiction. You say, I allow this traffic, and I deny this traffic from this same source and destination. It is a contradiction, so it will be a reach and error issue, and you will not be able to deploy that. Okay, so well, we'll go to the example. In this running example, we got support for Palo Alto, AWS, Checkpoint, Google Cloud, Cisco ESA, FortiGate, IP table, etc. So I set up AWS. I got here my secret key ID that way here. And my region was US 1. And my credential was this one. I want to go to this endpoint. I'm going to choose all, and it's Italian, my user. Okay. Once configured, it only have one warning about routing table. We are going to solve later, and I'm going to import the topology. So it is going to the AWS instance, and it's trying to create the network topology from all the things that are expressed in this project, okay? So here I'm going to improve the layout, and they are. Here we can see that we get 2 network interfaces defined and 1 elastic IP that provide access to the internet. We see that there is several subnets created, and only 2 subnets are coupled to the AWS and are accessible by means of its network interfaces. And we see that there is an error issue because this IP is shared with the IP of the instance that I am using. That is very common on AWS, but not common in other cloud providers, okay? So here we are simulating, we can change this and say, okay, I'm going to use this other IP for the network interface. So this is the 2 interfaces, the elastic IP, and I'm going to play with the routing table, and I'm going to route all the traffic to the internet by means of the elastic IP. So I put this. I have no issues here, okay? So now we are going to see what is happening on the security, but I have no visibility here. Why? Because it's just for usability reasons. This is a more simple, the simplest example that I can share with you, but suppose that you had 400 or 500 of instances running with a lot of policies. So this is mainly based on demand views. Okay, you create view to see something, but you can disable that to see all the things that is happening just in here in properties. Okay, I'm going to disable that. I return here. And here is, okay, I got my instance. I can see here that is related with that security group. I got 2 security groups with an issue because these are security groups that are not related to any instance, okay? And we got ACLs related to several elements. In addition, we got 2 VPCs, and we can highlight what is happening on what of this. So I'm going to load the configuration to get all the services and all the things that are defined on the configuration of the devices. And I'm going to import the policies to see the visibilities defined. Okay. So this is all the things that are right now defined on my AWS example. And we see that it goes in and out the internet because are defining the inbound and the outbound rules inside my infrastructure. So if we want to only know what is happening with the instance that I'm going to manage, we can create a filter, as I stated previously, only with that, with all the things related. Apply. What? Apply, okay. And here, I got what I need from the entire infrastructure. Only the thing that I want is to know what is happening with this. So I see that it is more related with that. We got an inbound traffic by means on SEH, okay, and that is defined by this security group, okay, and we get allowed all the traffic to the internet from this instance. And in ACL, that provides me this other information. You know that the ACL on AWS is more priority with the security group, so it could be very useful because if I have no idea about it, I could go through the instance and I could see here, hey, I got SSH access, but I can now apply to the SSH by this instance. Why is happening? It's happening that you get an ACL here that is shadowing your configuration from the security group because it only provides you access by the TCP 8.0. It's just an example, okay? So I'm going to move fast to a more complex example because I got more or less 5 minutes. So I move to this one, okay, to perform a live migration, okay? And the other one, you could go through the video to see all the changes, okay? Okay, for performing live migration, I got this more elaborated scenario. Is this one. Here is an hybrid cloud. It doesn't fit very well. Okay, we got here an on-premise that is here. That you see a Cisco SA, a FortiGate, and a Palo Alto, and this is the on-premise that is running on my company right now on my CPD, and I'm going to move to the cloud, okay? So I want to go to AWS or to Google Cloud. So I want to move only just one portion that is managed by Puppet and a Puppet application. It's here. Well, here you can see all the visibilities that are right now defined. The green lines are the allow, the red lines are the deny, and the other one are the deny, okay, the translation. Okay, and we can filter to see what is managed by means of this Puppet application, or the infrastructure managed by Puppet, where I'm going to run my application better. Okay, this is one. Okay, so I got these servers where I'm going to push an application. We got a database and a DNS. Okay, so I can make several examples. This pretty good example is to define compliance here. So we can say in an easy way, by means of groups, for example, define a compliance rule like this one, very simple example. I'm going to define that all the web servers must be accessed by all the things related instead of TCP 8.0. So I'm trying to ensure my security access by means, for example, for 443 or something like. So these web servers that are here, I'm going to put on the group of web servers. I'm going too fast, or no? Okay. And only these people has the restriction that you will not be able to go through these web servers, okay, with the Cartesian problem of the policies that we're going to create by means of the TCP/80, HTTP. Okay, so it creates this, and collaterally it creates these lines. We can see that it is redundant with the default policy because if we don't express nothing, you have no visibility. But right now we are expressing that I don't want to have this visibility, TCP/80, but other one could be applied. Okay, so fantastic. I'm going to migrate this. I'm going to clear here by using the API to these other elements. To several elements, I'm going to move to the Google Cloud. So all the networking policies that are related with the on-premises that I have expressed previously needs to move to this new environment. And I'm going to move to the AWS, that's here. So for performing that, we got here a very simple Python script. I'm going to show you. Okay, and in this script, it's pretty simple. I'm going to parse a CSV file that provides the source of the elements that I'm going to translate to new IPs or new tags or new elements. And I'm going to create the new requirements, and to retrieve the requirements that previously exist that are affected to these elements, I'm going to create the migration plan and to push it. And all the things we are going to be done using the public API that you have seen previously. So for that, I need to create a new token. I'm going to show you. This is from a previous example. So I'm going to token create by basic auth, and this one. Okay, here is. And this provides me access to all the endpoints of the API. Okay. So I set up here. Whoops. Okay. I tried it? Yeah. Okay, and we can run. Oh, well, we are going to show you the file. This is the source of the migration, the first column. And the other column is where I'm going to migrate this host to the new infrastructure. And we can tag with several tagging we will provide on the Puppet manifest or whatever. Okay? So it's not necessary to know the IP if you don't want it. So I'm going to run Python migrate py. Okay. Sample CSV. The number of the scenario, it's important. I'm going to get from here, for example, from the log, scenario 2. I can get this information from the API just for easing the, okay. And I'm going to delete the previous one requirement. So when I run this, I try to show you both things running at the same time. Okay. When I run this, whoa, oh, okay, I have no push at the changes. So, well, I can now show you. I'm going to change. I got time? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to push the changes, for example, from my Puppet DB. Here. Whoops. Okay. This is 442. Okay. I'm going to put, for example, this one. And I'm going to put this one. What? Here is just 2 examples. Seems to be, please. Oh, well, not running. Demo. So, well, I'm going to share the video. It's because I have not pushed the application in Puppet. That was a previous step, so I have no time to review that right now. But, well, more or less, I hope that you see the idea. Okay, so just for concluding. We go through day, weeks, months, etc. to minutes. We can have an open opportunity to do a lot of things in an automated way without the need to know a lot of things about the infrastructure. And we go through from these operational issues, okay, to have consolidated operational policy portability. Firewall policy as code is very important for the DevOps, and a lot of good ideas like continued preemptive compliance, automatic migration. Trust me, it works. And policy synchronization, okay? So thank you very much for your attention.